Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to December's TBC Power Hour. As you can see, we're trying to do something a little bit different. You've got a web feed of us here in Westminster, Colorado. I'm joined by people from all over the globe that are part of the TBC team. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, answering some questions here, a couple of giveaways, some polls. We want to make this session really, really interactive, and so we've titled this presentation, The TBC Team Live. Who I am joined by here this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are, Boris Skolchak is to my left. He was the former product manager for TBC and now has moved into a market manager role for our office software. Thanks for joining, Boris. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is Mr. TBC. How long were you TBC product manager for?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years. And been market manager for about a year, 6 months, 9 months in that time frame. Next to Boris is our all-star QA/QC intern, Adam Tigris. You will hopefully recognize Adam from our November Power Hour that he did, and we're going to bring back a follow-up question to that here in this session. And then to my right, we've got another all-star intern, Devin Martinez, who has been working with Jason Hayes and myself and Boris here to develop additional stories and road mapping for our office software, RealWorks and TBC. On the line, we are joined by our superstar intern. That title is not applicable to his capabilities and his knowledge, Riley Smith. Our engineering manager for TBC, Arnaud Bougerat, is joining us from France. And we've got another Arnaud Lesniak, who is a product applications engineer for our EMEA region, also joining us from France. And then a little bit different, rather than being behind the scenes, our Michael Dix, marketing communications guru for office software and geospatial, is on the line as well from Florida. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for attending, and we'll get started.
Joe, what are those pluses on the world map?
Good question. Those pluses on the world map are the primary development locations for TBC. So we've got developers all over the world, heavily concentrated in Europe, in the United States. We've got a team with our Nikon Trimble joint venture in Japan, and also resources in New Zealand and Australia. So as TBC continues to grow and become a powerhouse in the survey office software landscape, I wanted to show this, and we wanted to show this to show you how we can be regionalized and how we can focus on local and regional requirements with teams really all over the world, really diverse team, full of very, very talented people. And in Europe there, I should mention, we've got multiple locations, Vilnius, Lithuania, Stuttgart in Germany, Munich in Germany, Paris, and then Nantes in France as well. All right, in our agenda today, we will not strictly follow this. We'll be bouncing back and forth a little bit. We've got a series of user-submitted questions. Thank you, everyone who has submitted questions. If you see your question up here, we'll be in contact with you. We're going to send you one of these awesome TBC from Field to Finish with Confidence t-shirts. And if your question didn't get picked, we still may hear from you. We still may send you a shirt. We got a lot of good feedback. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we just don't have time. Your question will be answered. We just don't have time here in the hour that we've got allotted for this session. We're going to do some more giveaways, additional opportunities to get your TBC t-shirt with a little bit of fun, hopefully a little bit of laugh, with two truths and a lie about TBC. So we're going to read a couple of very short stories about TBC, and we'll be looking for your feedback in the chat window to identify which was the truth, which was the lie, and the first person that identifies that, we will send a TBC t-shirt too. Boris will get into a little bit of what's next for TBC. Again, this is kind of what we're thinking. Don't want to be held liable for this. This is kind of our plan right now, just to give you a little bit of insight into where we're going. Boris will also have this. He's got this great history map of our story pulled up too that we'll switch to really show you how we've grown, how much we've expanded, and then a little bit of eye towards the future. I will go over some learning and educational resource slides as well. We work hard to promote our product and get our education out there and get training opportunities out there for you to learn all what we're doing. And I want to share those with you. Those will also be integrated in with the presentations here a little bit. And then we'll tease the next steps for if you're interested, if you like what you've heard here, if you want to learn more, if you want to download TBC, if you don't have it yet, go into that, as well as our next Power Hour at the end of January. With that, we'll get right into our first question. We're going to have Riley Smith take the first two questions. Go ahead, Riley.
Hello, everyone. So the first question was asked from Khatib, and this question is around the switching of grid and global coordinates in Trimble Business Center. So we're going to look up here at a project that I've got. Just to clarify, there's no technical issues. Everyone can see my screen all right?
Yeah, it looks good, Riley.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so some of you may remember me from past Power Hours, but currently how this project ties into my situation where I am right now is that I'm back at school, and the TBC team told me I need to learn a few things before I got back on back to work. So I've been learning a little bit about surveying and doing some GNSS work, and that's what you see here in this project. It's actually a survey I did for a school project. And how this ties into the question asked by Khatib is that we're going to look at a project that has both grid coordinates and global coordinates in it. So if you look at the grid lines in the project here, I'm going to switch my background to white, it might be easier to see for you. It's displaying grid coordinates on the side. That's what we do in the plan view for Trimble Business Center, so you can work in that grid environment. But if I wanted to see global coordinates at any time and at any point in my project, what I can do is go down to the bottom right here in this little scroll window. I'm going to hit that, and notice it displays the real-time update of coordinates as my scroll square moves across the screen. Now I can show global coordinates as well by right-clicking and selecting the latitude and longitude. So now I can see both. So for instance, if I wanted to know roughly what this position was for this FRDN station, I can see latitude and longitude, roughly 45, 55, and 66, 39. Now, to just move that back, I can press the close button. Another cool little feature, in the question asked by Khatib, he referred to how do I enter a global coordinate while working in grid coordinates. So for instance, I have these points here on the side. I can add another point by going to the CAD tab and selecting Create Point. Notice there's a box here called Grid for the coordinate type. I can just switch that to local or global. Most likely you're going to want a global coordinate. And now I can type in latitude and longitude. So if I wanted a coordinate, let's say I'll pick right here, for instance, and we'll select in, come on, maybe we'll select here. I'll select that point, and it will display the latitude and longitude. I can do ellipsoidal height if I want as well, or the elevation. Oops, I didn't select the point. There we go. And then I can add that coordinate, and I have a new point here on the left-hand side. I've got my office entered global coordinate. And if I right click and select the properties, I can see those coordinates there. And this works in the opposite way. If I want to also enter a grid coordinate instead, I could select this point number 1, right click, and hit add coordinate. And now I could add a grid coordinate if I wanted to instead. So that this way, now if you're working from one side, you have the grid coordinate and you want to get the global coordinate, you can do that, or vice versa. So a couple options for you there. Now when looking at these points, such as in a point list or a point spreadsheet, as you can see if you go to the View tab and select the point spreadsheet, I can show the latitude, longitude here, or the easting and northing. And this can be changed to show one or the other or both in the project settings, which is up at the top left, and in the View tab under point spreadsheet. And you can see, if I scroll down a little bit, there's a grid coordinate. So I'm showing that right now, but I could remove that. Let's say I only want to show global coordinates. So that's gone, and I'll show them only, hit OK, and now my point spreadsheet shows latitude, longitude, and height only. Awesome. So that was the first question asked, and I hope it was answered by that demonstration. And Joe, should we move on to the next one, or do we have any questions popping up in the chat window?
Yeah, go ahead and let's move on to the next one. We're good with questions for now.
Okay.
Can I get the presentation back?
Yes, you can, sir.
Like a second monitor here to see what other people are seeing.
All right, yeah, it should be back to you.
Got it. All right, here is the second question submitted by 2 of our European users.
Yes, so this question here, question number 2 from Mate, is it possible to import total station data from third-party hardware like Topcon, Leica into TBC, and what are the formats that are supported? So this is a great question, one I'm passionate about. Is of course I know a lot of our users and a lot of surveyors in general use a mix of different hardware in the field. So it's important to be able to bring all that different data into a software. So quick answer is yes, but we're going to do a little demonstration for that. Just switch over the screens. Give us a second to do that. All right.
Good.
So now I've got TBC open here. What I've done is I've opened the import command here. Notice on the right-hand side where it shows the file type, I've got quite a few different types of files. So as I mentioned before, I know a lot of our users have different hardware in the field. They might be using a Leica level, a Trimble total station, maybe a Leica GNSS, who knows what it is, but how do we get all of that different type of data into one software? So in this example, the question asked by Mete, we have some Leica GSI files, as well as a RW5 file, a Leica XML, as well as a RAW file. So notice with the Leica GSI file, it specifies a GSI format 16 level file. Now, if I right-click on this file, what it does is brings up a screen where I can select various other types of Leica GSI files or similar file types with that extension. So in this case, we have a .gsi file. So this will show all of the specific importers that we have for that file type. So in this case, we have several different types. And one of the concerns is, what do I need? So if I'm using, if I have level data, I will probably want to use one of these 3 formats, depending if you're using international US feet or meters. But if I'm using like a total station data, I probably want to switch to the total station importer. As well, we have several other file types here that you can import. And just to demo this, let's import this here. And I believe this file was graciously provided from one of our dealers, Corec. Shout out to those guys. Thanks for helping us out. We'll import this file, and you'll see that this Leica GSI file contains the same raw data that you would see coming from like a Trimble JXL file or any other Trimble raw data format. So we've got all of the, switch the background again. We've got all the total station vectors that are populated, as well as the points. So I can click on one of those vectors, and we'll right click and move up here and see the observation itself, and it collects all of that information. A couple things to be aware of though, I got these questions in the past, is for instance, when I'm looking at my total station observation, notice how there's no prism constant value. Depending on the file type that you're importing, sometimes this raw data isn't actually written into that file type. So it is crucial for you importing non-Trimble data into TBC to be aware of what is included in that raw data format. So in this case, in the Leica GSI format, the prism constant isn't included because it's assumed that it's a Leica prism, so it knows the constant. So just be aware of that. You might need to input a prism constant here. Nah, you might not need to. So some things to note. Second part of the question is, can I use this data like any other Trimble data, even though it's from a non-Trimble sensor? Answer is yes, of course you can. So for instance, I could do a network adjustment if I wanted. And to do that, I'm just going to quickly set all of the stations here, see the total station data. We'll set the curvature corrections on, and we will go to survey. Let's do a network adjustment. For time's sake, we'll do a quick one, and we'll fix one of our stations and do a minimally constrained adjustment. And oops, looks like I'm missing a setting there too. I'll turn that on, the sea level correction, and we're good, and adjust. All right, so unfortunately we failed the adjustment, but that's not the main point we're looking here. What we are looking at is this is raw data like you would expect from any other Trimble sensor, but coming from different hardware. So you can take that and integrate it with any of your other sensors, and I can see, for instance, I'll select that station and see the air ellipse associated with it. Awesome. Well, thanks for the great questions, guys, and glad I could participate.
Hey, Riley, are you coming back to us?
Maybe after I get more educated. I'll learn a few more things before I come back.
You sound pretty educated to me, man. Thank you.
We'll buy you a razor.
It's cold here in Canada, so I'm getting prepared.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, buddy. And in talking with, speaking with what Riley's been just demoed with third-party data, we've got our first poll question. We want to learn a little bit more about what sort of third-party software that you do use in your workflow that we can further integrate with. So there's a lot of different solutions out there. TBC is a tool. We think the best tool. A little bit biased there, but we work hard to make it the best tool for your needs, but we understand that there are others out there, and we'd be curious as to what we can better interface with. So if you wouldn't mind taking a minute here just to respond. In addition to Trimble, what other software do you use in your daily workflows? Autodesk products, Bentley, Carlson, Microsurvey, or Leica software?
Hey, Joe, we had some questions come in, I think, about Riley's last example. Not sure if you want to take a look at this.
Sure. So our buddy Jared in Georgia asks, will TBC read timestamps and instrument types from third-party data?
So I can field this question if you would like there, Joe.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'll switch myself back on. So yeah, Jared, thanks for the question, as always. So once again, this comes back to the file type that we're reading into TBC. So there's a variety of formats that we can currently import into TBC, such as the Leica GSI, hexamels, FBK formats, RW5, StarNet files are another one, the .dat files from StarNet. So all of those can be imported, but the problem is with some of those raw data files, not all of the information you expect coming from, let's say, a Trimble job file is included. So the question, I believe, referred to session or the timestamp information for the observations. So if this is included in the raw data format, we will import it. But if it is not, then that is then we can't, because it's not actually included in the raw data. So that's somewhat of a challenge. And if you are Jared, if you do have an example where you see this in a raw data file, we'd love to hear from you, and feel free to send us a message. I'm sure Joe would love to get a barrage of emails after this and hear from you guys about your third-party data coming into TBC.
Yeah, and that was one of the motivations for putting that poll question up, because we do want to be as interoperable with other parties, both software and hardware, as we can.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions?
John's been asking some great questions on some point cloud and scanning and SX10 data that we'll get to a little bit later in the presentation. So hold tight, John. If we don't answer all your questions, we will get to you offline here. But
awesome.
I believe that is it for now.
Awesome. All right.
And again, if we don't get to any of your questions, keep them coming. If we don't get to them on the air here, we'll reach out to you afterwards.
Yeah, Christoph is asking, is it possible to import additional data from CSV files? Actually, that's one of the easiest importers in TBC. There's several commands in TBC have a drop-down arrow with the additional choices. So import command has a drop-down to import format editor. And this is where you can actually format your CSV. So you can create a new format and associate fields, however are they coming in from a CSV file. So Riley's here demonstrating. You can give that importer a name so it always shows up in your import pane. Yeah. Here you can just keep adding your fields, like Riley's showing, with description 1, description 2, and so on. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Christoph.
And then real quick, since Riley's got the screen up, the command showing, Joseph asked, can you transfer data from one VCE to another? Right underneath that survey tab there on Riley's screen, you see a merge survey projects. That will transfer survey data from one VCE into another. So give that one a try. It's for the survey data only. The CAD geometry line work will not come over, but survey data will transfer from one VCE to another with the merge survey projects command.
So what you're saying, Joe, is if you change a property of an observation or a point, or you're making a network adjustment or you process baselines, all of those edits are preserved when you merge that into a master VC.
Yes, yeah. If you wanted to organize your data by a daily, for example, and you had all of 30 VCEs for any given month, you wanted to get them into a master VCE, that would be the command to use to merge.
Ryan is asking, can you add total station to a GNSS network? I think this is one of the strengths of TBC. So when TBC was introduced, or Trimble kind of brought that GNSS into surveying, and the concept of the flat surveys started mixing with the ellipsoid geometry. So one of the best parts of TBC's ability to really integrate those multiple data types. So definitely, yes, you can bring in total station data to a GNSS network. You can also bring level data on top of all of that, and you can decide what holds the elevation, what holds the height. and give weight to different observations.
Great stuff, guys. So in order of time, we got to keep moving forward, trudging along here. If I can get the presenter rights back. It is now time for our first two truths and a lie. We will read you three statements. Two of them are true, and one of them may not be so true. And the first person to identify the false statement in the chat window, we will be sending out, again, one of these fantastic TBC from Field to Finish with Confidence t-shirts. So we tried to be a little creative with these. Hopefully you enjoy them. Please wait till all three of them are read. And I will turn the first story over for Devin.
How's it going, guys? Alrighty, so the iconic four corners, most of you guys will know this here in the U.S. In the EU, it may not be such a household name, but I'll go ahead and start reading about this. So the iconic Four Corners Monument in the USA marks the quadrupoint that joins Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. So using the new single proportioning tool in TBC, it was found that the existing monument is approximately 1,800 feet off. That's about 550 meters off. These findings have been nationally recognized, and subsequently the existing site is set to be demolished and relocated in 2019. The survey group that produced these findings have been nominated for a Nobel Award in Science.
Wow, pretty heavy. Second story, languages with Adam and Bort.
Is this one? All right, so TBC speaks many languages. Externally, it can speak 16 languages. Its development team members speak 10 different languages natively, but its mother tongue is .NET.
All right. And then our third story comes from Riley.
I went to Four Corners last summer. I'm sad to see it go. It's a cool monument. All right, the virtual surveyor. So many of us on the TBC team are surveyors by trade. Those four gentlemen you see there on the webcam are all expert surveyors in their own right. So many of us, though, don't get outside anymore. So we're getting a little sensitive to the weather, you know, the cold elements, the wind, the heat. So we've been trying to find a way to do some surveying from our comfy, warm offices. And the rumor has it, when we were using the SX10 in testing mode, we used it to survey the Trimble office parking lot in Westminster from the 4th floor of the building using only imagery and point clouds. So one TBC command, the virtual DR, enabled those surveyors, us gentlemen, to create an entire survey plan from the comfort of their office.
All right. With those three invigorating stories, please submit which one you think, the Four Corners, languages, or the virtual surveyor, is false. We've got Ryan Olson coming in very promptly with the correct answer. Which one was a lie?
It was the Four Corners.
Was it the Nobel Prize that was given?
No, actually, you do some research on it. They identified that monument is in fact wrong, and those numbers are correct. However, TBC was not used to identify the bust.
I'm glad that you mentioned the single proportioning command, though. We have kind of recommitted ourselves to the cadastral workflow in TBC, and the single proportioning routine, both with geodesic coordinates, was added in TBC 4.00. You'll find that the future releases will have many more tools for the cadastral surveyor. One of the things that we use here is that we're survey package for surveyors by surveyors, and it doesn't get more essential down to the root of traditional surveying than cadastral workflows in certain countries, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. So stay tuned. If you haven't checked out the single proportioning, there is going to be a power hour on that once we continue to build out those functionalities more and more. But the single proportioning tool is live in version 4.00. So thanks, guys. We'll have another one of those sessions, and Ryan will get a hold of you for your address for your TBC shirt. All right, now we're going to bring in some of our international presenters here. This question is going to go to Arnaud Bougerat, who is the engineering manager for TBC. Arnaud, how long have you been working on the TBC team?
So I've been working on this TBC team for about 13 plus years now, going to 14 at the moment.
Has it grown a little bit, changed since the early days?
Well, yeah, when I joined the team, there actually was no TBC yet, so I witnessed the very first release. So yes, it's changed a lot. There's no question about that. Absolutely. Well,
thank you for participating here. Arnaud volunteered to demo this, and it was great because it shows that our engineers and our marketing people are committed to the software. They know how the software works, and we'll switch it over here to you to show us how to measure vertical clearances in TBC.
All right. Can you see my TBC screen?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So what I want to show here is really the use of basic tools that we don't typically fully know in TBC, or we don't know to their full extent. What I have here is a fairly complex set with bridges and passes and stuff. And what I would like to know is really how much clearance I have on these underneath these bridges. So what you see on the screen is a 3D view. You have two station views of the same area, and I'm going to try to focus and see how much room I have underneath this bridge there. So to do that, I'm going to use a simple measure distance tool. I mean, very, very simple tool. And I'm going to use it from an example from the station view here. I'm going to pick the low point on the bridge here. Oops, sorry. I'm going to pick the oops. So I'm going to pick the low point, if I can see it. Yeah. All right. So here, points, and you can see the rubber band going from the bottom of the bridge, and I'm going to try to extend it to the ground. And since the ground is pretty flat, it doesn't really matter where I pick on the ground. So just going to pick there, and it's going to give me a distance. You can see that distance in all views, and obviously the slope distance is not quite what I'm interested in, but what I can see is actually the vertical one, and that's the one I'm interested in there. What I can do actually is save it, so I can get back to it. I created a vertical clearance layer that I'm going to put my distance on, and I'm going to make sure this is stored as a vertical distance. And as soon as I do that, what I can see is I can see actually focus on the vertical parts of the measurement, and it really is vertical. There is no doubt about it. This is from the bottom point of the bridge to the ground. What I can do as well is measure horizontally. So, for instance, measuring from this part of the bridge to another section of the bridge to see how much width I have here. So I can pick, for instance, somewhere here. And same thing, it doesn't matter whether the heights are the same. What I'm interested in here is the green distance in that 6.9 meters. What I can do is save it as well. I'm going to put it in my horizontal clearances and make sure it's stored as horizontal. And once I save it, I can see really the distance between those 2 points. And I can keep going and measure, for instance, another one here, if I'm interested in a different part of the clearance. So, for instance, between this beam from the top of the bottom of this beam to the ground, and I can see it once again there, and I can save it in my vertical clearances. And if you don't pay attention, you realize that, well, I didn't save it as a vertical clearance, I saved it as a horizontal one. So what I can do is select this one and get the properties and change it, to a slope distance, horizontal or the vertical one. In that case, this is actually the vertical I was interested in. So that's how you can do vertical clearances in TBC. There is another workflow that you can follow using a cutting plane view specifically, and this is interesting when the ground is actually not perfectly flat. So in this case, I'm just going to clean this up, delete those, and bring a different point cloud that I have. It's actually happened to be a tunnel, and this tunnel has a little slope to it. And if I follow the same workflow and I do a vertical distance from the top of the arch there to the ground, since we're going to look at this, since the ground is not perfectly flat, if I look from the side of it, I'm going to see that this is not actually a vertical clearance. So even the red distance there is not perfectly vertical because it's not the true clearance. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to use a cutting plane view because that's going to help me a lot constrain the picking in the plane that I'm interested in. So in this case, I'm going to create a cutting plane view, and I don't have a plane yet, so I need to define it. I'm going to create a plane, and I'm going to make sure that this is a vertical plane. And this is a vertical plane passing from through this point that I pick on this face and that point that I pick on this face. So if I zoom out, I can see that this is really the plane I'm interested in for the vertical clearance. So I can close this and I can zoom in my my cutting plane. And in this case, that's great, but this is a lot more than I can see. I'm interested. So I might not do the picking correctly. What I'm going to do on top of this is click this, check this, tick this box there, and actually cut the plane and restrict. In this case, I have a thickness of 10 meters. 10 meters may be a little more than I'm interested in, so I'm going to do 20 centimeters, and that's going to restrict even more. And now I'm very, very confident that I can pick the distances, even with a little angle, a lot better than before. So if I save this one, I make sure it's a vertical clearance, that time. I save it, and we can see that it is actually perfectly vertical and exactly in the plane that I'm interested in. And furthermore, let's zoom out a little bit. If I want to do a clearance at a given distance along the tunnel, I can go 10 meters further, add a little offset to it, and that's going to move the plane a little further. And I can keep going and do the vertical clearance, measure that vertical clearance, save it again, and go 10 meters further and keep going again and again. And in the end, I used the cutting plane view, slicing it at a given position to constrain my view and my picking, so that when I do my picking, I know exactly, I have full control of what I'm picking on. And if you look at this terrain, I have the different clearances all along the terrain, even though I have a slope to the tunnel. And this is a good way to utilize a very simple tool, which is the measure distance, to measure clearances and width. And I think that's it for the vertical clearance.
Yeah, that's a great demo, Arnaud. And there's been two questions that have come in from Babek and I'm just going to mispronounce his name, Tobe, on how do I get saved distances into Drafter, and how can I share them outside of TBC? And there's two answers that come to mind immediately. We've got a dimensioning routine that will export into CAD, and then we've also got a new web-based data sharing service called Trimble Clarity that you can publish data on our Trimble Connect platform and then share that information with clients just with a simple URL that can compute these basic measurements, clearance measurements, for example, as well.
There's another method that's relatively popular. There, if you go to the drop-down menu under the measure distance, there's a tool called points to surface. So if you create a ground surface, you can just mass select points, and it will give you all the distance from that point to the reference surface. And that's a report, and that's an exportable format, so you can get quickly an Excel spreadsheet with hundreds of points and their distances to the vertical distance to the surface.
Absolutely, and you would have to create a surface first as a reference.
Yep.
All right, again, time, we're going to blow through an hour here, which is absolutely fine with us. A couple more questions came in. We'll get to you, get to them offline. So thank you. This is really generating a lot of interest with all these quick little demos. Arnaud, thank you very much for your time. Have a good.
Thank you for being here.
A good evening. All right, we will turn this over now to Mr. Boris, and he can talk about what's next for TBC.
Excellent, thanks, Joe. Before we talk about the future of TBC, would love to kind of just quickly recall the past. And the reason I do that is because I get this question very often in terms of like, well, when is Trimble going to start introducing another software? So it's been kind of an industry trend in the recent years that major companies or major vendors reintroduce their platforms or re-platform very frequently. So I can assure you that from TBC perspective, that's not going to happen anytime soon. And this is just a nice short chart, so apologies for that. It's more for internal use. But it shows you kind of our history in the software back to the 1980s, where we had the Trimvec that did the post-processing static and kinematic. And Probably some of you on the call recall this much better than I do. I actually started using Trimble software in early 2000s with TGO, but we also had a software called TerraModel. A lot of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with TerraModel. So, and this kind of just shows the history going from TrimVec to the GP survey with the same TrimNet module for the network adjustment. We had a software from New Zealand, SDR Map, that actually, SDR Map didn't become Trimble Survey Office, but it did the same team work on that software, but the different code base was used. So that was the first attempt at the Windows-based platform. So then we decided to really merge the capabilities of the Trimble Survey Office into a TGO version 0.1, and that was a fantastic survey software, if you all recall. Into TGO 1.5 later, we integrated both GPS and total station. And then we were kind of asking ourselves, what the heck are we doing? Every few years, we keep reinventing a new software. If you look at that kind of a history here. And then we also got a new team on board from Atlanta, from TerraModel team. And the development on TBC actually started in early 2000s. I believe it's 2001 or 2002, where the platform was created. So the idea was, instead of reinventing the wheel and keep doing a create line command in 5 different Trimble software packages, let's figure out how we can do a platform that multiple software groups in Trimble can use. So then we started this platform called Symphony, on which TBC was born in 2005. So the first release of TBC was L1 processing. So all of that auto drafting or the feature coding, so a lot of that was actually contributed from the Atlanta team. And we started incorporating TerraModel commands, and those came really heavily later, a few years later, because there was a lot of groundwork to be done here around surface creation, corridors, and some of the stuff that we wanted to get first from that TerraModel team. But you can see here evolution, adding the, after the GPS L1 only, we started adding GNSS, we started adding optical processing in TBC 2.0 in 2007. Corridors came later in 2009. You all remember kind of the pain points we all went through when we introduced the new ribbon UI, going from that kind of thousands of icons on the screen. So then the TBC 3.0 really started being the 64-bit version of the software. So the computing power was more of a commodity at those times versus the early days where it took a whole day to process a baseline. We really excelled or started expediting all of that, the development. The reason TBC has grown so much is because of the contribution of all these teams that were here mentioned in the past. So all those teams continue to work on TBC. So now there's a larger pool of Trimble engineers that contributes to that Symphony platform. So not just TBC gets to benefit from it, but heavy civil edition of TBC, softwares like PostPack, softwares, cadastral softwares in Germany and Japan that Trimble provides. So a lot of groups in Trimble may use just a single component of TBC, for example, a create surface for SCS 900 or something like that. So that's really a success story, and one of the reasons we were able to crank out so many releases, as you have seen in the last 5 years. So we started adding terrestrial photogrammetry in 3.1, leveraging that Trimble Vision capabilities, adding drafting module, again, contributing with that TerraModel concept with the DynaViews. Trimble RealWorks played a critical part in providing us with the point cloud capabilities, so all that stuff that Arnaud was showing now with managing point clouds. So TBC can manage virtually unlimited number of point clouds using the exact same engine as in Trimble RealWorks. So all the development that happens on Trimble RealWorks, we get the benefit from it in TBC and vice versa. So that's the power of collaboration in a larger company like Trimble. We added data prep module in TBC 3.4, GIS in 3.6, scanning module with the release of Trimble SX10, with some of the registration and automatic classification capabilities later in 3.8 in 2016. So we are now in 2017, where Joe says we started focusing back to the cores really kind of on those basic cadastral routines and leveraging more of the cloud-based capabilities because you live in a connected environment where people don't want to move the data multiple times. So Trimble Clarity is the first example of how we can leverage and benefit from those collaboration tools a little bit more. Goes back to the presentation. I hope this kind of a history overview was interesting for some of you. I think it helps understand how did we got to this point today. So our message is really to be, our mission is to be the survey office software enabling field to finish with confidence. So we are not a design CAD, we are not enterprise GIS. No, we are a survey software. So we see a need in all those surveys that might use one or two commands from GIS or one or two commands from CAD. If we can introduce them in a way that surveyor thinks about it, we can be very successful and provide a complete workflow, keeping in mind interoperability, as Joe said, with all the other players out there. So our message is really about that kind of capability, but also compatibility. So data integration is really important for us, and going forward, you will see some of the more integration of the mobile mapping, some of the additional GIS integration. There's been a lot of requests through the power hours to support more hydro data. So that's something we are looking at. And please take this list as a kind of a personal, more of my perspective and an intent where we're going to go, not a commitment. We're a publicly traded company, so everything or things might change. But this is the action plan as of now. We want to really invest more into the confidence and more of those basic COGO traversing. We feel we can make that even better. And big effort is on the deliverables, right? I mean, all of that is cool, like even those clearances tools that you were talking about, but if there's not a good way to present those in a deliverable or share those with the client, it really kind of loses the meaning if it gets trapped inside TBC. But really, we really want to speed up that time to deliverable, so shorten your time to invoice. And we are going to do that by introducing some of the automation and feature extraction. We see opportunities streamlining drafting workflows, so reducing the amount of clicks, maybe having something more of a command line that's going to keep your focus on the plan view as you're drawing. And we are also kind of having our eye on new workflows, so additional inspection tools. I mean, one of the questions I think that came in, can you measure perpendicularly to a surface? That would be an interesting inspection tool. And those type of tools are very welcome always. So tunnels and pipelines are other kind of adjacent markets where we are thinking we can provide surveyors with more tools to be more capable with. Interoperability, so field and office data interoperability. So we have the Trimble Access services today. We want to kind of really streamline or strengthen that link between Trimble Access and TBC and reduce the amount of time spent on hooking up your data controllers to the software and improve that workflow. But we are also heavily focused on Autodesk, Bentley, and Esri interoperability, so we hope we can start introducing some additional benefits there soon. In terms of the platform, we keep kind of a lot of effort in making sure that our platform remains stable and scalable. As I said, TBC is our software for the future. We don't have any intent in switching from TBC in 3 to 5 years from now at all. So we want to enable that platform to also be more flexible in terms of licensing. We are looking at macro languages. A lot of you using Terra model have been asking for this, something similar to the TMLs. We are also interested, actually, this is just an idea at this point, but on published an SDK package. We are wondering if there's any kind of a need or how many of you, so any comments in chat window are welcome, how many of you would want to actually develop your own software on top of TBC. So that's also on the table in the future. So I hope this gives you a good snapshot of how do we got to where we are today, and some of these are more like short, I would say short to midterm goals that are somewhat realistic in our roadmap. So
Yeah, and we're always looking for your feedback. We want this software to be functional and useful for you, our customers, and the growth and the sales and everything will come out of that. We have to have a good root product, and that's what we're really focused on. So, Michael, could you throw up that next poll question? We are going to go way long here, which I'm okay with. Please feel free to stay on the line if you've got the time. If not, this recording will be available afterwards if you want to catch up, if you've got other commitments to attend to. But we will throw up that next poll question now. So where would you like TBC to focus its development in the next couple of years? So we focused on these kind of 5 pillars: CAD, CAD and plotting, point cloud workflows, survey adjustment routines, third-party interoperability, and data QA/QC. All kind of topics that we've talked about a little bit here today. Again, just looking to refine and improve and also develop new applications for TBC.
And chat windows,
We are running way long.
Cool. Carrie's asking who could be the contact if we want to introduce local topographic requirements and corridor design formats that need to be implemented in TBC. Yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to Joe or myself. So Joe is the product owner for TBC, so he should be the primary contact. But I'm kind of still heavily involved in TBC. So either one of us will make sure that gets properly addressed, and we put that on our roadmap. Bill is asking, will the future bring commands that you can type in for those who want more than one product of CAD? I'm not sure that I understand the question fully, Bill, but I'm guessing you're thinking of more of a command line approach where you can type in the command. So that's definitely something that we are heavily looking at.
All right.
David is asking about Terra model. Why won't Trimble continue to support it? Essentially, TBC is our Terra model. So, and the idea is if you have something from Terra model that you really would love to see in TBC, we want to hear that. So please let us know, and we'll make sure to prioritize it accordingly.
Yeah, those Terra model could do this. Questions are starting to slow down. We know there's still some things there. David, if there's something that can get you over into TBC that was supported in Terra model, you can't find it, or it's not existed in TBC, or our heavy civil flavor, please let us know. All right, moving on.
Did we ever publish the list of commands from Terra model and how they map to TBC? We have a document, but I'm not sure that we made it.
I don't think it's publicly.
Okay, no. So something that might help. We have a extensive document that goes over every command in Terra model and what command in TBC replaces that command, or what is an alternative way of doing it.
Yeah, and I have no problem making that public. You can look over that and post that.
Yeah. We are very proud of Terra model, so we are really actually excited to bring some of that capabilities. So we are all ears to see what can we do better.
All right. Our second TBC T-shirt giveaway: 2 truths and a lie. Get your fingers ready to type into the questions to identify which one of these stories is not correct. All right. I hope if there's any talent agencies out there, get ready for a little treat from yours truly. This story is called The Causeway, and I'm going to be doing a little role playing with Mr. Michael, and hopefully we don't butcher this too badly. So, hey, we've been dumping riprap into that river for that access causeway to Pier 6 for 2 weeks now, yelped the project superintendent to his overworked and underappreciated survey manager. It may sound familiar to some of you. You sure that initial quantity you gave me is correct? If there's anything I hate more, it's moving rock unnecessarily from point A to point B.
Look, the crew's almost done. Just doing some final grading and stabilization for vehicle access. Have you been out to the site? My quantity is right, 5% under actually, responded the survey manager.
Prove it, snorted the superintendent.
No problem. I've got the design, as-built data, and quantities right here, all generated by TBC advanced software, said the surveyor as he handed him an A3. Look, here you go.
Wow, this plan sheet looks great. You got the proposed geometry, the as-built shots from that Cyclops-looking total station thing out there, and that as-built line work, along with a neatly organized table comparing the proposed and the actual quantities on one piece of paper. The superintendent was in disbelief. And are those cross-sections of that ramp and the finished grade too?
Yep, I completed the design, added the survey data, and reported on the as-built conditions, all within TBC. Field to finish with confidence in one software, sir, concluded the surveyor.
All right. So Michael and I are accepting applications for roles in any sort of acting opportunities, if you liked what you heard. That is the conclusion of our first story. Switch over to board.
Okay, so the next one is a story about how TBC got its name. We get a lot of funny joke what TBC stands for, so I prefer the best choice. Some say it can be to be continued. So, but this one, the credit for this story goes to Richard Hassler, one of our longtime team members. So Richard started asking for a name for the product 2 years before we actually needed it. As I said, TBC development started about 4 or 5 years before the first release happened. So he said, I kept telling people that it will become more and more important as folder names and documentation started to get close. We had a program folder called Trimble Office for a long time, and several of us wanted to call it that name. Remember that Trimble Survey Office was a product before TGO. There were concerns that Microsoft Office would come down on us for stealing the Office name. Of course, they didn't register that name under the register. They registered under Microsoft Office. Anyway, no one did a darn thing about the name for all that time, and we were pretty much 2 weeks from the drop dead date, where no name meant holding up the project. A few people got together and said, okay, how about Trimble Business Center, because we want our products to be the center of everybody's business. Everyone was so happy to have a name at all, and they just said, okay. That is how I remember it happening.
That is inspiring.
Yeah. We take very scientific approach to some of the things we do.
Too crazy to be true. Had a lot of free time on the toilet.
All right, story number 3, the Mars project. Michael.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. A few details have been revealed about the Mars Space Station project. But with the aid of TBC's advanced aerial photogrammetry package, also known as UAS Master, a lot of the research for the viability of agriculture in space was done with the surface creation features and also those CAD drafting tools.
All right. So which one of those 3 beautifully told stories is a lie? The Causeway, the TBC name, or the Mars project?
A lot of mixed reviews there.
Yeah. We wanted them to be a little bit funny and entertaining, but not too obvious. All right. John Blakey, I apologize if I butchered your last name, sir. You have gotten it, the correct response. The lie is the Mars project. Unfortunately, NASA or whoever is running the Mars expedition, maybe another global organization has not reached out to TBC yet. We are all ears, so if anyone is interested. So we will get a hold of you, sir. Thank you very much. And we will move on. All right, we're going to play some musical chairs here. We're going to have a follow-up from our last Power Hour in November was entitled Local Site Settings and Site Calibrations in TBC from Adam.
All right, thanks, Joe. So the question we have here is, do you recommend completing the site calibration in Trimble Access or TBC? Are there any differences between the two? Functionally, they perform basically the same in Trimble Access or TBC. A site calibration, if you're not totally familiar with it, is transforming GNSS survey points to some known grid coordinates that you might have. Like I said, functionally they're the same in both software packages, but I think TBC does allow you a bit more options for reporting and QA, QC. So I'll actually go through a quick demo here and we'll see some of the differences between them. Start off by opening our Trimble Access. And I already have a job in here. Like Joe said, this is kind of a follow-up from a previous Power Hour. So I'll show you where those are after, but you can watch that if you missed it, and I'll go into a bit more detail. I'll be using the same job. Let's open up the map here real quick. This is a case where we have a base point 400, and then we have all these GNSS observations. We have 3 GNSS observations, 108, 101, and 102. They're also combined with grid points 2, 1, and 8. So we'll go into our site calibration, which we can get from the RTK menu, and we can start adding these pairs of points. So our grid point is the ones without the 100 prefix, so we'll have grid point 1 and GNSS point name 101. And we have the options to use them for horizontal, vertical, just horizontal, just vertical, or to not use them. So for now, we'll just horizontal, vertical. And we'll do this with all the point pairings we have in this job real quick here. Eight and 108. So now you'll see as we develop all these point pairs, we get these residuals, basically how good our site calibration is. We have our options in Trimble Access, same ones you'll see in Trimble Business Center for the most part. We can fix our horizontal scale to 1 if we don't want any scaling with our distances. And for vertical, we can do a constant or we can do an inclined plane. There's some other options down here that apply to the auto calibration if you're measuring points and you want to calibrate as you go. So we don't have that in TBC, but that's more for when you're actually surveying, along with stuff where you can add suffixes and prefixes to your calibrated points, or your measured points before you calibrate them. So you can go ahead and apply this site calibration. Oh, I guess I want to see the results from it. We just did a 3-point calibration here, which is kind of on the minimum you'd want to do for a 3D. And we have our results, scale factor, rotation, max residuals, and the vertical adjustment. So now if we apply this, I can actually take the same job from the Trimble data. Let's make a copy of it. And we can drag that into TBC. Open up a new project here. And we can just go ahead and open our site calibration. And you can see we have these same basic options. We can set that scale factor to 1 again. We can make it so it's just a vertical shift. One extra thing we do have in TBC you might notice is this update product definition. This is really helpful if you're dealing with your GNSS points that might be based on a state plane grid or another grid system. We might have coordinates in the millions, and you're calibrating it with some known grid points or just local, 1,000, 1,000. So you might need to do that if you're dealing with grid and ground. You'll get some really high scale factors if you don't change your product definition to where it should be in your new calibrated system. You can also see down here that we're actually in a calibrated coordinate system. Oh, I need to click on that, but just hover it. And we can go into our point list here back in site calibration, and you can see we have these same pairs that are already in there. We have the same options to use them for horizontal, vertical, just horizontal, ignore them. So we'll recompute this, and we'll actually say that we're going to delete the old calibration. We'll say yes, and we should actually get the exact same. I just want to show the results here. And you can see that we have the same scale factor held to 1, same rotation, same vertical shift, and the same maximum vertical horizontal residuals. And this is kind of where the extra QA, QC appears in TBC. We have all these little diagrams to go with each point, showing which direction your residuals are. So if they're all facing the wrong way or they're really high, then you'll be able to see that there, and you can maybe see if there's a problem with your calibration. And the one final thing is we have reports we can generate up here. We have the site calibration report. You can click on that, and it will open up this new PDF. You can save that. Basically has all the information, hopefully you could ever want to, with your site calibration, coordinate systems, any ground scaling, local site settings, and then your actual calibration parameters, residuals, and coordinates. So hopefully that answers that and shows the differences. Like I said, fundamentally the same, but hopefully there's a little bit extra you can do in TBC. Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Back to you, Joe.
All right, and so this was a follow-up to the Power Hour that Adam hosted last month. I do want to show here real quick. If you're not aware, you can view past Power Hours by going to our geospatial webinar website. So this is the link. This is the same registration link that you used to sign up for this session. But also down below, we've got everything archived. And the last 2, 3, 4 sessions maybe of the Power Hours, we've been posting the presentation with the recording and the sample data as well. The sample data that Adam used last month is up when you click the Watch Now and register to watch it again. So you can watch these at any time. These are tremendous resources. We really spend 35, 40, 45 minutes breaking down the topic, and we go over the whole workflow as it functions in TBC. Forrest has started it in mid-2015, I think. So we've got more 2.5 years of full hour-long or hour-plus-long sessions available for your viewing. All right. I'm going to cut one of the polls, but I do want to throw up one more. Michael, can you throw up the question on what is the longest, the task in the office that is your least favorite? So we showed the differences between the site calibration between the field and the office. We want to get an idea with this question of what do you kind of dread doing the most? Not necessarily, maybe something that takes the longest. Sometimes processing data just inherently, like with aerial data, it just takes a long time for the algorithms to compute. If you could throw that one up, Michael. What is your least favorite survey office task to perform? Data import-export, field data review and processing, drafting, digital or print deliverable creation, or survey adjustment. This would give us an idea of where we can focus, where we can improve the experience, and also if you're not using our software, where kind of there's maybe an industry-wide improvement needed. I'll leave that up for a few minutes. All right. Thank you all for your response. Let me get into our final question, and thank you for holding on, Arnaud, in France. This question comes from a user in France. the SX10 instrument and point cloud support in TBC. So take it away, Mr. Wasn't it? There we go.
Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Perfect. So yes, definitely we can do all this inside our Trimble Business Center using the SX10 data. Just need to move that screen away. Sorry. So you can see my TBC right now, right?
For everybody on the call, this is a different French guy.
Yes.
Maybe Arnaud, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, because
yes, definitely. So my name is Arnaud Lezenec in French. It's better. I've been with Trimble for 20 years now, and started with Mency. So 3D scanning is like my working life, I should say. So I'm glad to show you some point cloud. I'm fairly familiar with them. So that example is a real example from Portugal, where the client bought a Trimble SX10, so the scanning total station, to do like a corps de rue, as we call them in France. So basically to do like building elevation. So I will show you like different techniques. And at the end, we try to do some drafting because the customer was gentle enough to give me the final result. So here is the point cloud. As you know, in Trimble Business Center, we have that point cloud tab. I'm going to switch the point into true color because, as you may know, the Trimble SX10 got like very powerful cameras built inside. So first thing I will do is we need to do the segmentation to select the building. So I will show you some little tricks. And Arnaud did show you some as well by doing a new plane definition. So I will make a new plane. I will give it a name. That's fairly important as well. Make a vertical plane. And I will select 2 points on the facade and the third one for its position. Voila. And now I can go to the cutting plane view. And basically, I'm going to do some segmentation using that tool. So Arnaud stole my tricks. That's fairly sad for me, but you already saw that, but I will show it again. So to keep that building, basically, I could change the thickness, let's say to 2 meters, and to just keep the building facade. Then the next step inside TBC, we got that CAD tab. So CAD menu, we can do many CAD drawings inside it. So I will just do it like quickly. I can make like a rectangle, let's say. So I can give it a name. And I will use that little button to make the auto advance. So I can do like several rectangles in one shot. So let's say I do like the shape of the building. Now you can see it coming in the 3D window on the top. I hope you can see. And I can do like some little window. I'm not doing a very good job here, but just to show you the principle, basically. So do some drawings inside. And then you can continue, of course. I could spend like a few hours on that topic, but I will stop here for that one. The next thing we can do, and it's a big request, like in Europe, for instance, is to do an auto photo from the scanned data. So we get that auto photo menu. Basically, you follow the steps. What do you want to use, depth, grayscale, or true color? Then your plane definition. So I could make a new one, but I want to use that building facade here. And basically now I can pick 2 points to define the area for my auto photo. Then you define the pixel size of your auto photo, and then you can create it by just pressing store. So basically now I'm creating an auto photo, and then I can use it also to make my drawings, or I can export it to third-party software if you want to. But you can do also everything inside Trimble Business Center today. So we can see it in the list here. So it's here, auto photo. I can just show it like this if you wanted to see. I have too many screens in front, but this is a result of my auto photo. And then we can also export it. So you can just go to export into the CAD menu or to image exporter if you want to use it for another software. Another option you can use with the Trimble SX10, you can take so panorama automatically with very high density in terms of pixel. So what we can do as well is to make a rectified image. So when I press a rectified image, I'm going to switch into a station view inside Trimble Business Center. So the customer did some resection because the road was so narrow. They had to move on top of some buildings on the other side, as you can see. So let's switch to station 6 here. So at the bottom, I'm going to switch to station 6. So now we can see a bit better that pink building. But as you know, as you can see in 3D, it's a different depth. So what I will do, I will define a new plane. So I just need to move that window back here. A vertical plane again. I'm going to pick point in 3D, one here, one there, and one here for the position. So now I move my plane to the correct location. I could have given it a new name, of course, just do it like this here. And now I can draw either in 3D or in the cutting plane view. I just want to show you something that maybe you don't know. I can select my corners. Oops, sorry. I just need to clean here. I could just go like this. Brown to start it again. I will make a plane like this. And here is just for you to see, it's using the station at the bottom, but I want to use the station 6. So don't forget when you do it at home or in your office to change as well here the station to station 6. So now we can see, I hope you can see that cone of the projection, and I can make my rectified dimensional. So different data source, you use a point cloud or you use the images. And just if I can still have like 2 or 3 minutes, guys in Westminster, I just want to show you the final result from the customer, what he did. Is that okay, guys?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Hey, Arnaud,
Yes.
what module are you working in? What's required to do all of this work?
I think you know better than me, Joe, but it's using the scan, the point cloud, the scanning scan module.
Yes, that is correct.
That's a good question, Joe.
I have a question. When would I use orthophoto and when would I use ortho-rectified image as a deliverable?
So usually to like building elevation facade, I think you should use orthophoto because you want to be like ortho to your facade. The rectified image, depending on the elevation of your station, you could see details from below, and that would be incorrect in a building elevation drawing. So that's why that customer went like on top of another building to be like really in front of the building facade, not from down the street. And also, if you like a 3D scanner, you're gonna use orthophoto because the point cloud will be dense enough. But with the SX10, you get the chance to get as good result using photos or point cloud. So give you like more options. So let me try to show you the result from my customer. It's fairly good. It's very, very good actually, I should say. I will hide what I did because it was awful. You can see the layers in the plane view. I just need to check them. So this is what he did. So we can see the result here. Sorry, I don't want you to get seasick. And what I propose to do very quickly is to do some drafting to put that 3D model into a piece of paper. So in TBC, we also get the drafting, and maybe Joe will ask me which module I need. I need TBC Advanced today. Is it correct?
That is correct. So in TBC 4.00, we merged all of the functionality in the advanced drafting module into TBC Advanced. So with TBC Advanced and the scanning module, you will be able to do everything that Arnaud is showing you here.
So I'm just importing a template. I will find it in my Project Explorer, plan set, meters. I use meter in Europe, sorry for my US colleagues or US customers. I will make a new custom sheet. So this one is very difficult for me to pronounce with the accent. So I try to not use sheet too much. I will just use like a piece of paper. Maybe it will be better for all of you. It's really a challenge for me. Now I'm gonna go to a view. I will not use that name. Make a vertical tab view. And then I will create, a dyna view. So dynamic view, I can give it a name. It's always better to put it into a layer, but I will not do it today just to save some time. I use a frame, define a scale, little rotation for that case, and I can place it on my piece of paper. You can put some logos, of course, more details inside. And Boris likes to say it's always like a DynaView because it's dynamic. So you see those points, we don't want to see those points. So that's a piece of paper again. This is a 3D on the left. This is a piece of paper on the right. What I will do here, I will hide the points. So they're gonna disappear in the DynaView. The rectangle I used, I can go into my layers as well. I can hide it if I can find it. I'm getting old, so it's difficult for me to see. The total station shots as well, I will hide them. So now I get something fairly nice. I didn't do it, obviously. Customer did, and then you can print it or make a 3D PDF, basically. So I think that's it for me. I could stay online for many hours, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Arnaud. We really appreciate it.
And I didn't use my webcam because my beard is all white.
All right, no problem, bud.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arnaud. Talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. So in an hour and a half, we've gone through 5 questions. It's obviously, hopefully get a little snapshot into the depths of what we're doing here. We're really excited with where we've gone, where we are right now, and where we're going. I will go very, very quickly through some of these resources that I was kind of teased earlier, and then we'll wrap it up. If you've got any final questions, please let us know. My name, I don't think I ever introduced myself, but I'm Joe Flecka. I'm the TBC product manager. Please reach out to myself or Boris. I'm starting to get to know our users and customers a little bit more, and our distribution partners. Always welcome your feedback. You're not going to hurt my feelings too much if you say that something needs to be changed or improved or added. That said, we do spend a lot of time, I do spend a lot of time on these resources, and let me go into full screen. We have a new website that's much more visual, much more interactive. I encourage you to check that out. We're posting more and more content, video content, testimonials, documentation, things like the tutorials are now moved to our website. The shortcut, it'll redirect you to it. Easy to remember, trimble.com/TBC. Those tutorials I mentioned are now online. They were packaged with the software. They're now posted online, available to download all or one at a time. There's a really super handy PDF that comes along with it that step-by-step walks you through the provided data and how to work with TBC for that particular tutorial. I think we're up to 27 now. The YouTube videos, while these power hours can be long, a little bit harder to digest, we do produce YouTube videos documenting workflows, new features, look around release time, anything new. We'll have a short video. Adam and Boris and Riley and myself have done some. We may recruit Devin for a story he's working on now to produce these videos. You know, very easy, couple minutes, sometimes just a minute or two even, to really show you what's new in TBC. Power hours, we went over this. They're available for your viewing at any time. We also have a community page where that could be another connection, a link to us directly. We do development and engineering and marketing do monitor the community page. Sign up with a Trimble community account that's free and join the page. We post updates. It's a good way to ask questions, interact with us as well. We also have links to our power hours and our tips of the week vault. We've gotten a little bit away from it, unfortunately. That is my failure. We need to get back into doing these quick little tips, documentation of a workflow. The workflow that Arnaud went through is in, where is it? It is a tip of the week, number 12. He documented that and wrote that up for us back in May, to creating orthorectified images for structural reconstruction. TBC Facebook page, trying to be a little bit more in tune with the social aspect, posting kind of where we're at with conferences. I was in Las Vegas at Autodesk University, for example, and took a picture out of my window at the Venetian Hotel to say, hey, we are, Trimble is at AU, and we talked to a lot of people that were happy to see us there. So outreach, seeing what we're doing on Facebook. Boris just had a nice trip down to South Africa and Mozambique. You've got some images up there. Great way to stay in touch with us as well. Certified training. If you are interested in learning more, maybe have a group, if you're a distribution partner, we've linked the certified training request link to TBC. We're really trying to get and push our knowledge and what we're doing and our efforts out and make that accessible. So investigate the certified training through our learn.trimble.com and our training group. All right, next steps. If you like what you see, if you're new to TBC, or if you need to update to version 4.00, that's the latest version, go to trimble.com/TBC. There's a download link on that page. You can get a free 30-day demo license of the entire package from your local distribution partner. If you don't know who that is or you're new, check out this website. It's been recently redesigned, kind of a sleek update that Michael and the rest of the Marcom team have been working on to find your local Trimble distribution partner. We are all over. And then I'm very happy to announce our next Power Hour, Wednesday, January 31st, working with point clouds in TBC. I've recruited and he volunteered my good friend Stephen Vitt, who's in the EMEA Geospatial Support Group. His specialty has been TBC with optical instruments and scanners, the S610. He volunteered for this, so thank you, Stephen, if you're on. He is based in Germany, so we will have one session only, this session here, the 8 a.m. U.S. Mountain Time. So tune in for that. Look for the registration links from us here shortly. And with that, I want to thank you. Thank you to our Arnauds, to the one and only Riley Smith, and these gentlemen here besides me. Apologies for running long. And
yeah, I would like to say a special thanks to Joe for putting such an interactive session together. So, and it's getting Joe on board of TBC team was such a great win for us. Joe brings a lot of great positive energy, a lot of knowledge as well from the industry. So really fantastic contribution. Thanks, Joe, for amazing work you've done in the last year on TBC. So we really can sleep well knowing that we have good team. So TBC doesn't rely on one person. It's a whole team, people who really are committed to the cause and to our mission. So thanks, Joe, again.
Yeah, and I really want to focus on what Boris said with the team. I mean, these guys and gals all over the world are here to support you, to build the best products we can, and we're working real hard towards that goal every day. So with that, happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. And we will see you at the end of January. And I'm sorry, Michael, I knew I was going to forget somebody. It's a thankless job a lot of times, the creative stuff and the behind the scenes organization that Michael Dix does for us. You're the best. Thank you. You're an integral part of our team. Thank you for all your support.
Thanks. As Riley would say, happy surveying.
Hey, thank you, everybody.